Welcome into another calibrated Ukraine battle map update. Today is December the 8th, 2025, and we have a ton of updates to go over. But before we do that, please be sure to subscribe if you are new here. If you are returning and you like today's content, please consider clicking that like button, leaving a comment. It is the easiest way for me to be seen by the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? We have updates all over the place, and we are going to start from the south and work our way east and northward. So in the Zaporizhzhia area, here is the city of Zaporizhzhia, 20 kilometers to the north. Russian forces have advanced through the village of Myrnohrad. I'm sorry, it's really hard to pronounce this town's name, but Russian forces have advanced along the E105 road right here to the west, which has put the entire village or town, I guess, into a very difficult position. The Ukrainians in the center of the city, town. It is too small for a city, but it's kind of big for a town. Russian forces have surrounded the Ukrainians in this area. I don't think the garrison is particularly large, but the Ukrainians were overrun and were trapped here. Something we've seen multiple occasions from the Ukrainian Armed Forces Command, where they will not allow their troops in certain positions to retreat, and so they get surrounded. Additionally, Russian forces have advanced towards the solar power station here and towards the village of Pavlivka through the fields west of Stepove. So just in general, this entire southern front is beginning to shift towards Orikhiv and towards Zaporizhzhia. This is very important because Orikhiv is one of those crossroad villages like Velika Novosilka and like Hulyaipole, which I've talked about so much recently. This is a very crucial area, and the Russians are beginning to encircle it from both the east and the west now. The encirclement of the entire southern front, the envelopment is beginning for the Russians. Moving down towards the actually just one point here in the Orikhiv area. Some of these advances may have been spurred by the fact that Ukrainian drone teams were moved from the Orikhiv Zaporizhzhia section of the front to the Hulyaipole Pokrovsk section of the front to help stabilize over here. So you may begin to see some more advance in this direction just because of the thinning out of the Ukrainian armed forces in this region. Okay, moving over to Hulyaipole. Russian forces have all but captured the entirety of the western portion of the village. There's likely very few Ukrainian troops, if any, Ukrainian troops on the eastern half of the Bakhmutivka River, which runs through the village. Ukrainians are still maintaining positions on the western and the southern end of the village. I would expect here in the coming weeks that you are going to see a lot more Russian progress from the south now that the north has been completely compromised. This pocket is going to get very tight for the Ukrainians, and the Russians will seek to capture Hulyaipole probably before New Year's. Moving slightly to the south, and I'm just going to bring up the Haichur River here, this blue line, so you can see it. Russian forces have almost completely pushed out to the Haichur River. If you remember, this was the Yanchur River back here, which the Russians have completely pushed out in about 2 months' time, have made it all the way to this next river line. And on this river line, Russian forces have completed the capture of Drobopila and have advanced into the village of Vavivka down here, or Vavivka, sorry, south of Drobopila. So again, it's mostly just gray zone on this eastern portion of the Haichur River falling under Russian control now. Moving up, Russian forces have crossed the Haichur River near Nechavyk and have pushed into Zershine and Peshane over here. This is a report from my sources. This report came about 3 days ago, and it is possible that these positions have not been maintained. So this is one of those areas that you could see go back and forth until the Russians eventually cross and consolidate positions fully. But for now, Russian forces had consolidated positions across the Haichur River in Peshane, in Zershine. All right, moving slightly to the north, the village of Verdnev right here has been captured by Russian forces. Again, this is just more progress in the Haichur Vovcha River area, as well as in the direction of Pokrovsk. Moving up, Ukrainian forces have been geolocated in both ends of the village of Tikhi, likely just crossing over, and this majority being in the gray zone, just how close it is to the front line. My map doesn't show it, but I often regularly say that the first 1 kilometer in either direction should just basically be considered gray zone. I think that gray zone is very subjective and nobody really knows who and where gray zone is and how far it goes because it's gray, right? It's not a defined position. So mappers will put gray zone in. I don't because I just think it's a guess. So just assume that 1 kilometer in either direction is gray zone at all times. And any map changes within that 1 kilometer area are usually not overly significant. And I'm not just saying that because it's the Ukrainians. The same thing goes for the Russians here. This crossing right here, it's in a very difficult area geographically. So, tactically for the Russians to cross the water or cross a barrier line, a trench fortification like this anti-tank ditch, right, that is in this area, stuff like that. This is the exact same thing. If this was to go away tomorrow, it wouldn't change the overall shape of the battlefield. It's just a advance in a difficult position. Same goes for the Ukrainians here. This is an advance in a difficult position, and I would expect that this would fall back under the Russian control very soon because it's difficult to cross the Vovcha River. All right, moving over to the Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad area, just west of Udashne. Russian forces are continuing to advance in this little area here near the mine. This is an important area for Ukrainian defense, but it's less important now that Pokrovsk has fallen. It's not like this is going to allow the encirclement of Pokrovsk from the west, so this is not as important for the Ukrainians, but still not an area that they would like to lose because it leads directly to Pavlograd from here. So it's a very important area to hold if the Ukrainians want to maintain the defense in the east for much longer. In the actual Pokrovsk area, Russian forces have advanced into the southern end of Kherson, which likely means that there are no more Ukrainian counterattacks coming from Kherson towards Pokrovsk. Now the Ukrainian counterattacks will be in Kherson itself if they are still happening here. Moving over to the Myrnohrad pocket. This is, as you can tell by the thumbnail title today, this is sort of the end of the Myrnohrad pocket. The Ukrainians in here have been left to die. It is incredibly sad because, there's sometimes throughout this war where on either side a group will get caught and, they will be a group that regularly commits war crimes, like a group of Wagner get caught or a group of Azov or Mayar or, some of these groups end up getting caught. There's less sympathy for them just because of the actions that they undertake and the way that they conduct themselves throughout battles. In this case, you're talking about people that are from Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporizhzhia, Kiev that have been punched in the face, thrown into vans, assigned to a territorial defense unit, thrown into a pocket, and have a gun at their back. And they say, if you try to run out of this pocket, or if you try to, before it was a pocket, now they can't run out, but if you try to leave this area, you will be shot. And now they're just trapped. They've been abandoned by command. Command isn't even talking about the situation. And if you look at the general staff, the Ukrainian general staff map, it still shows Myrnohrad and Pokrovsk fully under Ukrainian control, which is just a ridiculous thing. And I wonder if they actually believe it. I can't imagine that they do. But yeah, so the garrison here is now shrunk. It's almost completely destroyed. Very sad. I regularly pray for the innocent men who are just there by circumstance. I pray that they get out. I pray that they surrender. Good luck to those men in the coming days. It's going to be very difficult, but I do pray that they most of them get through it if possible. In terms of Russian advancements, just basically the entire pocket has shrunk. Russian forces have have pushed into the southern end of Myrnohrad and up here in the north have also consolidated some positions, making the encirclement deeper. So the situation here is terrible, and it's just going to end with a whimper, and it's going to be very sad. Russian forces have completed the capture, a recapture, I guess I would say, of Verdonske. This was in the gray zone. There were Ukrainians that were pushing in from this mine. That is no longer happening. No more updates over here. Moving to the Siversk area. Russian forces have advanced west of Fyodorivka towards Pezeno. Again, this is important because the high ground out here is very, very influential for this battlefield. The Russians really would like to get onto that high ground. This is the first step in that direction. Moving up, Sviato Pokrovsk has been entered by Russian forces, which has cut the southern logistics line into Siversk. Speaking of Siversk, as I mentioned in my previous video, it was titled Siversk Crumbles. You can find that on my YouTube page, where I talked about the topography in this area and everything. I said that the city was going to fall very quickly because of the logistics situation. The Ukrainian sources had been openly stating that the city was in a very desperate situation. And now we have Russian forces geolocated on the western bank of the Bakhmutivka River inside of Siversk, which would indicate that all of the western or eastern half of Siversk, rather, is under Russian control. And we have geolocations and reports that confirm that. So the battle for Siversk is almost wrapped up. It's almost at its end. And it happened within about a month of the Russians entering the city. Moving up to the Lyman section of the front, Russian forces have advanced into the village of Dobrova, as well as continue to advance in this forestry area. And as soon as they reach Stary over here and the highway that leads into Lyman, the entire Lyman pocket is going to be without logistics, and it is going to fall incredibly quick. So this is very important that the Ukrainians hold it, but I expect that the Russians will quickly move towards the Siversky Donets River here, and then this entire pocket will fold, and it will line up along the river, like my prediction down here along the Bakhmutivka has almost completely come true, and then further up to Lyman, it will come closer to reality as well. Expect some movement in this area, the Lyman Oskil bridgehead right here. Russian forces are putting immense pressure on Lyman itself. Logistics are becoming incredibly difficult, and we already have a Russian advance basically closing out this portion of the Luhansk Oblast. So be on the lookout for this entire Oskil bridgehead region to close actually pretty quickly here. I think we're going to see some rapid movement in this direction towards the Oskil River. And then the final update we have for today is from the Vovchansk area. This advance is incredibly important. It completes the capture of Vovchansk, the defensive line there. But what it really does is, I believe this is the beginning of the operation to close this entire northern pocket divided by this yellow line here. In addition, Russian forces have hit the crossing here. It was already once destroyed. There was a pontoon bridge. 4 FABs hit this area and wiped out this crossing. There also could be flooding further to the south out of this reservoir. It is unknown how much damage was actually done to the structure of the dam itself, although I do not believe the dam was the intended target, just the crossing. But that will make logistics into this entire area very difficult, and I believe by January or February, you will see the introduction of a new grouping in the Kharkov region, and that grouping will be used to capture this entire northern portion of the Kharkov region. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. That is all I have for you. I appreciate you all watching. Please, if you would consider subscribing if you are new here, that is the easiest way to support me. If you are a returning watcher, thank you guys so much for coming back. Please consider commenting and leaving a like. It helps me out so much. Without further ado, I think that is all we have today. Guys, please be safe. Take care of yourselves. I will be doing a live stream in the next coming days. My throat is finally feeling better, so be on the lookout for that as well. We have a lot to talk about, some Thailand stuff, Thailand, Cambodia, Venezuela, more Ukraine stuff. We got a lot to go over, so be on the lookout for that. Be safe. Take care. Have a safe week, everybody, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.